Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Joining me for the first time here on the channel is Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety, Mr. Marcus Banks. Marcus, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm glad to be here, sitting with you. Appreciate the opportunity.
No other way to be, man. No other way to be. So listen, the purpose of today's video, interview, whatever you want to call it, right, is I want Bucs fans to get to know you more, okay? And I find no better way to start than this, okay? Your nickname growing up was Speedy. Speedy Marcus Banks, okay? Now, in Texas, you grew up in Houston, Texas. You ran a 4.54 40-yard dash. What's the story behind that nickname? And can we continue to call you Speedy going forward?
Well, yeah, that name actually came when I was 4 years old. So I was playing on a football field, had just got to my first little league team when my mom signed me up for it. And we were doing sprints after practice. So my coach lined it up, blew the whistle, and I was like the first one on every sprint. And so afterwards, he came up to me and just started calling me Speedy. And that had been following me for the rest of my life. Literally every team that I played for, somehow, some way, they called me Speedy. Even all the way through my recruiting, different colleges found out. Coach Saban even began calling me Speedy, and I was surprised because I didn't even tell him that that was my nickname. He just found out. So I felt like I got validated after that when Coach Saban called me Speedy. I was like, all right, I'm doing a little something because it began with him just calling me my number. I was just number 26 to him calling my nickname in the end. So I always have to mention that story.
Did you ever ask him how he found out?
I didn't. I didn't even care.
You're like, hey, whatever, this works
I
for me.
didn't. I didn't. I didn't even care.
Do you still use it now with the Bucks?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So my strength coach, Coach Dre, he calls me Speedy. A few of my teammates call me Speedy. Tyke calls me Speedy. A few of my teammates, they call me Speedy as well. And I don't know if they find out through social media or they do a little research themselves or they just kind of hear other people and they take it and run with it. So.
We'll see. So then that's good. So for anybody watching this video, you have to refer to Marcus as Speedy Marcus Banks. Okay. Is it always at the front of the name?
Usually they just, yeah, typically if
Just
they don't call me by Marcus, they'll just say, Speedy. Rather,
okay.
it'll replace my first name at times.
Fantastic, man. I love it. All right. Well, that's a good place to start off. Now, listen, you did mention it. Now, you actually joined Alabama as a cornerback in
Yep.
2019. A lot of people, just to refresh everybody, you were a part of the top recruiting class that year. Did you know that?
Yes.
So you were one of the top corners in the nation at that time. I believe I saw you were, I think, number 13th or 16th cornerback in the nation. And you had offers from everybody. I mean, absolutely every school: Ohio State, Michigan, Florida, Texas. Why'd you pick Alabama?
I couldn't give a reason not to go there. It speaks for itself. Alabama, you got the greatest coach of all time in my eyes. You have the best players that go there and get developed. You got multiple championships. Just a great atmosphere to be around. Like to me, I feel like I was the best coming out, and I was like, why not surround myself with other great players that think like me and have similar habits as me. And I just felt like that was the best place for me to grow and develop as a player.
And like speaking of those guys in that class, I mean, you had guys like Evan Neal, Jordan Battle, Christian Harris, John Mechie. Do you still kind of keep up to date with any of those guys? It's kind of like,
Oh yeah, we all have a group chat that we talk in almost every day.
okay,
So yeah, and Christian Harris, he was actually my roommate when I was at Alabama. So me and him will always be close. So yeah, we still keep in touch with each other. The special thing I like about that class and just Alabama as a whole is it was a real family. Like everybody, we were all brothers. So no matter whoever went their separate ways, like for some reason we always kept contact.
yeah,
We just built that bond.
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I mean that's like you said, Saban. He's got to be the at least minimum the best college coach of all time, right? Like I know
No
that there's
doubt.
probably conversations with like Belichick in the NFL and whatnot, but I mean, absolutely incredible. Have you actually been able to connect it all with like because I know right now they brought in Charlie Strong, who used to coach at Alabama for a little bit, and then obviously with some of the other guys that have been there, like Chris Braswell. Have you been able to kind of connect with those guys at all about your time at Alabama?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was excited when I seen Coach Strong was on the staff now, and I actually see him almost every morning in the weight room, like around 5:30 ish. We're in there getting it in. So yeah, I see Coach Strong all the time. Braz, me and Braz will always be close because we were teammates.
Right.
So we automatically reunited right when we got to the Bucs. It was crazy just seeing him because we were just at Alabama together, and just to see that we both made it to the next level is a great thing.
That's awesome. Well, so listen, from 2019 to 2021, you were with Alabama. Now you played primarily special teams. Okay.
Mhm.
However, in one of the few starts that they did give you, it was against Mercer. You did get an interception. So I was curious, in your opinion, with being so highly recruited, and obviously it sounds like you had a pretty close connection with Saban there. Why do you feel like kind of that shot at playing corner never came up in terms of just playing more regularly? Because it seems like when you were out there, you were able to go out there and make a lot of make an impact at corner.
Yeah. Well, that answer I'm not sure of, man. I did everything, I controlled everything what I can control, trusted the coaches, just I felt like I grew as a player,
Yeah.
so I feel like, as long as one of my opportunity came up, like it did the Mercer game, I took advantage of it, and everything from that point was up to the coaches, and just gotta control what you can control. I had some great players in front of me, and they did a great job playing as well, and we won games because of it. So, in that aspect, I just did everything I could as a player, controlled the controllables, and took my advantage when I had the chance and made the best of it.
Do you still have that ring from the 2020 season?
I got all three
You got all
still.
three?
I got all three. Yeah,
I love it, man. I
I
love it.
think it
Yeah.
was the SEC championship, the national championship, and I think we got one from the Rose Bowl. So
Oh,
that was three.
I was only under the assumption. So they give you a ring for all three.
Yeah.
Oh, I was only under the assumption that they give you a ring for just the national champ. Do you have like a cool display with all three of them?
I do, yeah. It's back home though. I need to bring it back down in Tampa. I
That'd
wish I
be
could show you. I would have had them for you.
that would have been awesome. That would have been
Yeah,
awesome. But I mean, hey, you know what? That's just the it's the greatness of Alabama, man. I mean, they're
yeah,
always winning.
yeah.
Well, listen. So you transferred over to Mississippi State in 2022. In your mind, what went behind that transfer?
It was just time for me to, just use a little bit of my opportunity to get on the field more, and just play multiple positions in the secondary. I feel like that helped me. That was something that Mississippi State had on the table. And could flex me out at corner, play me at nickel, play me at safety, and just create some more value for myself and some more opportunities to put things on film.
Yeah. Like I said, so no, I agree 100% with that. So whenever you did transfer over, you did continue to play some special teams in your first year. Now, one thing that I thought was so interesting is that you had a lateral touchdown, right? I believe one of your teammates had lateraled it to you, and then you
Yeah,
returned it for a touchdown against Illinois. Okay.
yeah,
Now you just mentioned like positional versatility, safety. G- Going into that year with Mississippi State, you played corner the entire time, right?
yeah.
So how
Mhm.
did those conversations about playing safety start? Was that something where more it was like coaches were saying, "Hey, Marcus, um, we want you to switch over to safety"? Was that something you wanted to do? How did that kind of come up?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I walked in and it was like, okay, like where's my role on this team? Like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, they told me, okay, you can do this, you can do that. But when I got there and I landed my feet on campus, I was like, okay, what would be the best spot for me to, truly try to help this team win games and, fit in. We came in, he had Forbes, a first round draft pick, we had different guys in the secondary. So my thing was, okay, let me find my role on this team and do the best that I can and be where the coaches needed me to play at. And at that point, the best spot to put me at was at corner. So, I trusted in the coaches and played my role well. And, when opportunities came up, I made plays and if I wasn't there, I did the best I could to support my teammates. So
What do you remember if it was like any specific conversation in your mind where you're like, oh, okay, like yeah, this is going to be like the role that I'm going to be going in now is like full time switch over to safety. Did they have you do a little bit of both at Mississippi State while you were there? Like you played some outside, maybe some
yeah.
inside corner, and then some safety as well.
So yeah, my role got bigger through like that positional change through my senior season
Right.
at state. So yeah, they had talked to me about it and then kept it quiet. And then towards the end of the season, when we may have had some injuries or something, they was like, okay, Banks, let's put you at safety this practice, let's get some reps. Start flip-flopping during training camp, cross-training me and things like that. So I got comfortable um, before they actually, said, okay, here, like you're gonna be starting at safety, So yeah, they just kind of told me that.
Oh, so was it kind of something then where it was like, hey, a little bit more of like injury related things where it's like, okay, like we know Marcus can play both of these things. Let's get Marcus out there to see what he can do
It was that, and then we lost people
to like the
for
draft and
the,
stuff like
the
that.
the draft and things like that. So it was like once again, okay, like who's a guy in that situation in our defense. It was the best cover guy on the field was like the nickel. So we needed
Mm-hmm.
somebody who could be a little bit versatile to play that, and then that was me. So Coach Arnett literally brought me to his office and he was like, "Look, we're gonna need you to play like some nickel and some safety for us because you're gonna have to be that leader in our secondary, and this is you're gonna have to be that guy." So I was like, "Okay, like I'm ready, to take on whatever I have to take on to lead this team to get as much wins as we could."
You were like, hey man, I can be that guy. I've got three I've got three rings, dude. Come on.
Definitely, yeah.
That's great, man. So listen, so as you mentioned, you started the entire year at safety for Mississippi State. I just want to clarify something. Did you return another lateral interception for a touchdown against Southern Miss?
Yes, and what's crazy
It's the same
is
yardage.
this is like a full circle moment actually. So the first one, Illinois, it was at Raymond James.
Wow, okay. It
It
was in
was
a
at it was at the stadium.
it was in a bowl game?
The
Okay.
Reliance Bowl.
Okay, that's right.
So yeah, so that was so crazy to me when I signed with the Bucks is like that was my first collegiate touchdown. So I always say that story. Like it's still crazy to me just thinking about it.
Because I was sitting there back and I was looking, I was like, there's no way. I was like, this must be a typo. There's no way Marcus returned the same type of play for a touchdown, the exact same yardage, almost the same type of year as well. I think it was like the last game of the year. Or no, the Illinois one was at the end of the year, right? It was in that bowl
Mhm.
game. And then I think the Southern Miss one was earlier in the season, a little
Yep.
bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I saw that and I was like, I got to ask about this. I was like,
Yeah,
that's just
definitely. Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, man. So listen, you did mention it, you did go undrafted in the 2024 NFL draft. Um, One, how would you describe kind of your pre-draft experience? What made you? But let's just start off with that. How would you kind of describe your draft experience as a whole between like pre-draft, going undrafted, all those different types of things?
Yeah, well, it's a crazy process overall, but for me, like I said, my whole thing is like control what you control. So I could control me, working out, taking care of my body, doing everything I can to, prepare for the next level. And, with that, I had like Zoom calls, interviews. I did the CGS Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
had interviews there, played in the game, did a showcase, just things like that. Trained for my pro day, um, put up some solid numbers there that scouts were impressed with. So yeah, then leading up to it, draft day was emotions were everywhere, obviously, and just wait for your opportunity, wait for the call, and you just work out things from there. Let your agent do his work, and you just wait for opportunity.
Do you remember just kind of going back to those conversations because it was a little over a year ago now? Do you remember those conversations just or in terms of like where teams wanted you to play? Like obviously you had so much versatility by that point, playing outside, inside, safety.
Yeah.
Was there any specific role teams envisioned you in?
Yeah, definitely. So, most teams wanted me to play like some nickel and safety. You had a few teams that strictly wanted me to come in and play outside corner. You had teams that just strictly wanted me to play safety. You had it kind of varied between each team and what they were looking for in their fits.
I mean, and at that point too, like, because I imagine you're like, hey, dude, I'll play whatever you guys want me to play. You
For
know what I
sure,
mean?
yeah.
Do you remember what teams you had met? Like, for the Bucks, obviously, I know you ended up signing with them. Were they one of those teams that showed a lot of pre-draft interest in you in terms of those Zoom interviews and meetings and stuff like that?
No, I wasn't expecting them at all. Like, they were one of the teams that I didn't hear anything about. I didn't meet with. I didn't even like see, and I hear
Really?
a lot of stories about, yeah, like a lot of stories about the teams that end up drafting you or signing you, like all the teams like you least expect. Because I guess, it's a discreet type of thing to do. Like with certain picks they want, they don't want to show their card, their hand early, and things like that, whatever it may be on that side. But yeah, I didn't hear anything. So that was kind of like a last minute decision for me, and I'm glad I made it.
Had you done any research on the Bucks? So I imagine for you, it's like, well, I don't even. Did you do any research on the Bucks up to that point?
No,
Okay.
I had no clue in their interest of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. If you can share it, I know you said it came down to like a last minute decision. What was kind of that decision looking like for you then before you decided, hey, I'm gonna go join the Bucks?
I remember them, they were talking with my agent and things like that. And we were going through, the options that were on the table, then, different teams like that. And overall, we sat down, looked at the roster, look how many games they won, just the overall just tradition of the team, where it was located, who was the coaches, who were I'm gonna be developed as a player, what type of defense they run, things like that to ultimately make my decision clearer and make sure that was the best decision for me. Um, so yeah, that's how it kind of went, and they had checked all the boxes for me at that point. So we were like, yeah, we're going to Tampa Bay.
Feel good about that decision, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it's worked out. What would you say has been what was the biggest deciding factor for you in joining the Bucks?
Really, really, just the coach. I love Coach Bowles. I feel like he was a defensive coach. So not a lot of teams that had like a defensive guy, safety that played in the league that are, that win, that goes to the playoffs every year, NFC champs, like, all of that good stuff. So it was just an overall good fit to me. And then they had the best safety in the league there, and Anton Winfield for me. And I wanted to be a part of a room like that and around some great safeties and be able to learn from him. So,
I do want to join back and talk about Bowles in a second here, but you did mention something that was interesting. So last year you spent a lot of last year on the practice squad, right? I know you were elevated for a couple of games, but you did just mention a couple of guys. Who would you say this past year were the most important guys you feel like you learned from in that rookie season?
I feel like for me, definitely Zion McCullum,
Okay.
him, him, Winfield, Jordan Whitehead helped me out a lot. When Ryan Neal came back, he helped me. He was my locker neighbor, like right next to me, so we talked a lot
Hmm.
out of locker. Tyke, he was my roommate when I first got here. Learned a lot from him as well. So I kind of took a little bit from some people, looked at their habits and things they do on the field, and they helped me as well.
Yeah, Zion's interesting one for me. You just mentioned because he primarily plays cornerback, but people forget he has played safety for the Bucks
Mhm.
before, throughout stretches of the season there. And now I do want to talk about Bowles because obviously, like you said, he's a former safety. He played at the NFL level. He, in my opinion, specializes in more developing safeties, right? Kind of your position. So like, how does it feel to learn from a guy like that? Is it just kind of like, hey man, I'm gonna pick your brain as much as I can, like, well, fountain of knowledge type thing?
Oh yeah, he's an extremely smart coach, one of the smartest coaches that I've been around, just to hear him talk and hear him coach, and just the situations that he thinks about pre-snap, and just how how he scripts the game and how he calls the defense. Man, it's a great thing to be around, and it's fun for a player like me, especially a safety, to be in that defense like that, because we get to do a lot of things that most teams and most defenses don't do.
Does he give being a former safety, right? Does he ever give the safeties like special attention in terms of just like preparation or obviously just like in terms of I'm not talking about like preferential treatment, but just more
Yeah.
like, hey, since I formerly played safety, here's some things that you guys can do. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's more so of like the standard of safety here, especially knowing that your head coach played safety, like it's a higher standard playing for him. So, it's a lot of things that at the end of the day, like relies on us. And, we kind of have to be the general of the defense. And playing for him isn't going to be easy, so we have to live up to the standard that the Bucs created and the standard that he created, especially being a safety on his defense. So it comes with a lot, and I pride myself in that.
Something you just said that was really interesting to me was like being the general for the defense, right? I feel like a lot of people assume that it's always like the middle linebacker, right? Just as an
Yeah.
example. So like for the Bucks defense, would you say like the safety is like very like not obviously like in terms of just it helps out a lot in terms of like communication amongst the secondary, communication amongst the defense. Are you guys calling plays in the huddle, or how does that? Well, when you say like general the defense, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a lot of communication that happens in the back end. We have to communicate with the linebackers, we have to communicate with the D line, we have to communicate with the corners. And when I say the general too, we also see everything. We're the last line of defense
Right, you guys are the
on
furthest
defense.
back.
So yeah, we have to know what everybody's doing at all times. We have to see things before they happen. We have to watch a lot of film so we're able to communicate as well. So yeah, it's a lot that goes in the back end. That's why you have to study hard, and you got to have a good relationship with your teammates, and like I said, be the general.
Yeah. Hey man, I like it. Hey, we another nickname, the General Marcus Banks. I don't know, man. Just throwing it out
Hey,
there.
if that comes with it, I'm cool with that. That's not a bad one.
Right. Wait, you did mention a few guys. Okay, you did mention like Antoine Winfield Jr. You did mention Tyke Smith, Zahn
Yeah.
McCollum. Obviously you're a part of a incredibly talented safety group. Okay, and like you mentioned, one thing that the Bucks do that is I guess notable for their defense is a lot of safeties end up playing nickel. Sometimes they end up playing outside cornerback. Christian Izien, has had to play a lot as well. For you going forward now, coming into your next season here with the Bucks, has there been any kind of conversations as like, hey Marcus, we want you to try out more at the nickel, maybe try you out at outside cornerback, or they're saying, hey man, you're playing pure safety right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, not specifically, but we all have to know everybody's jobs at the end of the day, just because, things happen, injuries happen, like that. So, it's understood that, if I'm just not a free safety. Like,
Right.
I have to know strong safety as well. I have to know nickel as well. I have to know corner as well. So I think we do a good job of cross training our position. So everybody can play anything. Like you said,
Okay.
there were times where, you know, Antoine had to play nickel. There's times he had to play strong safety. There's times he had to play free safety, and vice versa with the other guys on the back end. That's why, like I said, Coach Bowles, just playing under him, he has a high standard with the safeties, and it's all understood that everybody needs to know what everybody else is doing, and we just don't need to know one position. We need to know all three positions in the secondary, and that's what makes us valuable.
Which, by the way, just for anybody watching this, that's not easy. I mean,
It's not.
that is not easy under any circumstances. I mean, obviously with Travis Hunter being drafted, right? He is going to try and play wide receiver and cornerback. I'm gonna be honest with you, Marcus. I have no idea how that's gonna go because, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but you can attest to this. Learning one position in the NFL at the most professional level of football is difficult. Now add two positions on top of that. In your case, in terms of the safeties room case as well, like that's not an easy assignment.
Yeah.
So Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Where it's like, yeah, that's a lot of responsibility on the safeties. So yeah, like just kind of speak to that real quick. Before we sign off, it's just like that process of learning three different positions. What is that like?
It's a lot of studying and a lot of film work. I say that. You got to put in the extra work, put in the extra hours to not only learn your spot as well, but learn those other two spots in the secondary. And you just have to use that time to watch extra film, study hard, and get reps at practice.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, hey, listen, Marcus, I'm gonna finish off with this. Okay, I always like to ask guys this. Um, Obviously, you've had a lot, right? From going to Alabama, winning just everything because that's what Alabama does. Going to Mississippi State, transitioning to safety, coming into the NFL, having your journey here so far. Going forward now, what should Bucs fans expect from Marcus Banks going forward?
Going forward, I should expect a high energy guy, that loves football, loves to play, a guy that works hard. I just want to be a guy known for, coming in every day and giving 110% and being consistent and, being somebody that you can look at and say, all right, like I can trust him. I love to have Marcus Banks on my team, a guy that's going to give you his all.
Love it, man. Well, Marcus, again, thank you so much for joining me today for our interview. It's greatly appreciated. Where can the people find you on social medias?
Marcus Banks, 1K,
Right on. And I will have
all
that
across every platform.
right on. I will have that linked in the comments section. So if you guys do want to go give Marcus a follow, be it on Twitter, Instagram, definitely go give him a follow and say hey. So, Marcus, thank you so much for being on, man. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Everybody watching this video, thank you guys so much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. As always, guys, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now and go Bucks.